AoC Meeting number 7. We talked about several things in this one. This one didn't really have the same level of heavy news as the last one, like Whitleyon getting nerfed, and there's still no news on Cassie. Like I said in the last meeting, they're taking the Cassie thing very seriously. They're really investigating it and looking for the right way to do it. It's gonna take time, but they're working towards something. Hopefully in the next meeting we'll have some solid info to give to you guys about Cassie. For now though, let's focus on what was talked about in this meeting. Game modes came up again, basically the same stuff as the last meeting. Only new thing was on the possibility of something like a mode of the day or week. There would be problems with that, because it takes a lot of upkeep. The amount of work, attention, and polish that would actively be needed to keep that afloat is out of scope for now. The most possible thing you could see in the future would be being able to pick multiple of the same character in custom games. Next was possible improvements for certain characters. So I've noticed in the comments lately, I have been having quite a few people asking when or if Ying would receive buffs. So Ying's problem is that she's a heal bot. When they buffed her a while ago, Ying was supposed to be a character that healed a ton, but doesn't do anything else. This proved to be unbalanced in high-level play. I remember her win rate in PPL was around 70% at one point, and that's pretty nuts. So her healing was nerfed to the level of the other supports. Ying can still keep a team up well, but again, can't do anything else. So while Ying isn't technically bad, there's no practical reason to pick her over the other healers who can heal just as well, and either offer good utility or damage. So I brought that up to them, that Ying needs some sort of utility or damage buff. As far as giving her a CC, they're worried that if they give out too many CCs to characters, that eventually the game will be so filled with them that there'll be CC everywhere, and that'd be super annoying. And I get that. It's definitely smart to be tactical about when you give characters CCs. So what they're gonna do is work on making her weapon feel better. They're looking at two possibilities. Either making her base weapon feel better or adding focusing lens into the base kit. Nothing is confirmed yet, these are only possibilities. They want to improve her weapon but are undecided on how. Focusing lens in the base kit has been something a lot of you have asked for. I think that'd be really cool too. It would increase her damage while also being reliant on skill. Focusing lens is of course a skill-based talent. They're gonna take some time to test it out. They are worried that it could possibly make Ying too good at both damaging and healing. And if that's the case, they'll probably go with improving her base weapon. There are upsides to that too. For one, less heal body, and two, a weapon buff like that could of course stack with focusing lens. Possibly making focusing lens a viable off DPS talent like Catalyst and Maelstrom are. Next was Koga, so there was of course a lot of noise made by you guys when Koga and Xin were nerfed. In the aftermath of the nerf, I haven't seen a whole lot of noise on Xin. I have seen a solid amount for Koga though. Koga also has a lot of long-standing problems that could use fixes, so I brought him up to them too. Koga was again messed with recently, so they don't really want to mess with him until his spot in the game settles, and I get that. It is really soon, but I thought I'd try anyway. I brought up some problems with his ult. The only possibility that came out of that is increasing his ult charge, because it is lower than all the other flanks. They're gonna look over that, and if they notice the same thing, they said they can definitely look into upping it. The other thing was Blood Reaper. It's not a good talent, many people don't like it. Many players have asked me to ask them to bring back Master of Arms to replace Blood Reaper. A different version of Master of Arms before some of you guys riot in the comments. It'd only work on players, not barriers, deployables, damage immune targets, etc. They didn't really give an answer on Master of Arms specifically, but they did say that they also don't like Blood Reaper, so hopefully we can see the talent replaced in the future. A lot of people feel like Koga's SMG playstyle has taken a lot of hits, and they're right. So possibly bringing back Master of Arms, again a weaker version, and again on top of all the nerfs the SMG playstyle has already received, I do think it could come back and give people that SMG focused playstyle while also being more balanced. Koga is a lot different now than he was at release of course. I've also had several PPL and PML players ask me to push for its return too. Koga is apparently a character that does do well despite player perception. They did mean at like Diamond and above too. He is a character that was designed for high elo. Buffs coming his way, of course, aren't out of the question, but we're likely only looking at the possibility of an alt charge buff and something with Blood Reaper. Moving on to Moji. Okay, so full transparency here. Not many people ask me to ask them to improve Moji. That's mainly because Moji is one of the least played characters in the game, so the amount of voices speaking out for the character are gonna be lower. A character having a lower player base doesn't mean I ignore them though. Everyone's characters matter. So Moji is a character that has always suffered from a few big problems. The biggest being her hitbox. Literally. Her hitbox is wider than Makoa's despite her being a lot smaller visually. This has always made it very easy for people to punish her. I am very happy to say that they are reducing the width of her hitbox. I was so happy to hear that because that has always been her biggest problem. The character, in theory, is really good. Her sustain and defensive potential is really high. Same with her close distance damage. However, her hitbox is so punishing that it makes it difficult to use any of that, even on some of her best maps. It's why I really have only seen a very small, probably less than a handful, of good Moji players. Plenty of people say the character is easy, brain dead. I've said it before and I'll say it again, that is simply wrong. There is a lot a player's skill with Moji has to compensate for. I also talked about her ultimate. It has a ton of drawbacks. I do agree that an ultimate that can execute a target like that needs to have drawbacks, but it has so many. It's a skill shot that can be blocked, and personally I don't mind either of those, but the snack can easily outwalk and outjuke you. Even if you scamper, it can jump right over the scamper, and if you do eat the snack, then you're locked into an animation that'll likely get you killed. Now, they're not going to be messing with the ultimate right now. Honestly, I'm thankful enough to have the hitbox reduced. I cannot wait to see how much better the character feels once that goes live. Those were the only characters I personally brought up this time, but there was also talk about other characters too. If you've played the PTS, you noticed Androxus's dash feels super clunky. This was a bug, they have a fix for it, so it won't go live, no worries. There was also stuff about Amani, so the Frost Bomb was nerfed quite a bit. It's slower, and a permafrost is dead, so the max duration will always be 1.5 seconds. Apparently there are several players that think that's not enough. That a rather big AoE root like that is still a lot even after the nerfs. It was asked if it could be made into a slow. They don't want to do that. They feel like that's a good way to make the ability very lackluster. It is an easy to see and hear coming attack that is on a 20-second cooldown. You also can't do anything else while casting it. So I do totally get why they want to leave it as is. I did ask if it was supposed to go through barriers. The explosion doesn't, but while it's flying, it can go through anything that isn't Atlas's barrier. This was a bug, they have a fix for it. So now you can effectively counter it with barriers, so there's even more counterplay to it. Buck was brought up, he is of course getting the ammo buff, but people want a bit more. It was asked if his jump could be stronger at base. Same with Androxus's dash, since they both need distance cards. They said they have to be careful about messing with characters who can move fast and far in a 3D space. Also, apparently the highest win rate characters in high elo are all flanks. That blew my mind. They have been popping up more and more in the PPL, so it does make sense to me. It is still a bit mind-blowing though. Another thing was Battle Pass challenges. They're moving away from the overly difficult ones like stun 5 people with Assault. I have seen the ones for the next Battle Pass. They're grindy, but they're not super luck-based like that one is. We talked about esports betting coming back. It's not something they want to bring back because it took a lot of upkeep and it broke a lot of things. The other thing is PPL skins, like recolors for every character corresponding with the teams. So this is a really cool idea, they would love to be able to do it, but their esports environment doesn't really make it possible. There is of course illegal stuff behind it, and what happens if an org leaves the PPL? Did they keep those skins in the game? Replace them even though you already bought them? It is complicated, so they're sticking with the one team skin every year for the HRX winners. Envy won the last HRX, so you'll probably see an Envy skin come out next HRX. Pro players being upset that we only have 3 dedicated main tanks, Anara, Terminus, and Barrack, was brought up. And yes, all the others are more effective as off tanks guys. Those 3 are the only full main tanks. So when they make a character, they look at gaps in the roster for stuff they don't have. Like Anara's a wall builder, so we don't need another wall builder, for example. Then there's Atlas, whose entire kit brings things to the game that haven't been done before. That's the kind of stuff they want to focus on doing when it comes to characters. So it does make sense why they probably don't want to make another character whose main focus is to sit on point and survive as long as possible. Then there was stuff with player retention, people wanting more reasons to log in and progress. So they said there are a lot of these, but they're hidden under UI. So they do want to look into bringing those things out and making them more in your face, to put it simply. Having a default audio option has been something people have been asking for, especially the pros. A lot of skins have quieter sounds, so having a default sound option would easily fix that for them. Apparently that is really difficult from a tech standpoint. Unfortunate. They are working towards fixing those problematic sounds though. We talked about possibly having tabs for the chat, like how MMOs do it, different tabs represented by different colors. This would be really nice, but it would take work from a Hi-Rez team outside of Evil Mojo, so it's difficult to make happen. We did talk about the new support. Now again, I can't tell you guys anything that you really want to know. I'm sorry. I can tell you that we looked over her entire kit, ultimate, base abilities, cards, talents. Man, all I can say is that I don't think I've ever been so hyped for a character before. I was really hyped for Khan and Koga, but this support is blowing them out of the water for me personally. I have no doubts that so many of you will love her. Some of you may never pick another support again. I know it'll be hard for me to. I know a lot of you want to know when the support comes out, but to be honest, I don't know. I am hoping it's really soon because I cannot wait anymore. I'm definitely going to do what I did with Koga and grind the support to level 50 in around 20 days. That's my goal. The last thing we talked about was the schedule for the AoC Summit in July. If you don't know what that is, all of the AoC members get flown out to Evil Mojo Studios for a few days. We get to hang out with the devs, discuss things with them, playtest stuff, etc. I don't want to talk about the schedule in detail, because of course it isn't an in-game thing that many of you would care about, but that is what we ended the meeting off with, so I wanted to let you know. Anyway, that was the meeting. Let me know what you guys think about all that in the comments below. And that's pretty much it guys, I want to thank you all for watching, I very much appreciate it, and I'm going to see you guys laters. Bye.